A condition I've heard about, but I got to tell you, I don't quite understand, but it affects a lot of people you know and love, sickle cell. And so from the Sickle Cell Association, which sounds like a great name, Donna Dixon, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. I really don't know what sickle cell anemia and what sickle cell is. You've explained it to me. Explain it to me one more time, and I want to go over some of the myths around it. Let's start with that. The first myth I've heard is that only people of color have this condition.
Totally wrong.
Totally wrong.
Totally wrong. Sickle cell disease is actually a disease of the red blood cells. It's genetically inherited. It's genes that everybody carries in their body. They're always passed down. The father and the mother each pass down one gene for the hemoglobin, which is the red blood cells. Red blood cells are red, that's their job, and they carry oxygen. That's the two things they do. And with sickle cell anemia, the problem is that if they don't carry enough oxygen, then you have other problems that could happen in the body. And the cells that should be round, flexible, get through the body, bend and bow so that they could actually pass oxygen to any part of the body, doesn't do that at all like it's supposed to. So if the normal blood count should be about 14, with sickle cell, the blood count's half that.
Wow. All right, let me get back to the first question then. Why do people associate people of color and sickle cell issues?
Can I tell you that's political?
Tell me.
So happens that President Nixon needed the black vote when he was coming in, and he had someone that worked for him that had a child that had sickle cell. And he promised this lady that if she helped him to get into office, that he would set up 10 federally funded sickle cell centers if he got into office. Guess what? He got into office. We got 10 federally funded sickle cell centers like in the early 70s, and that's where people start hearing about sickle cell. But he actually put it out there as a black disease. That was the problem.
But don't more black people have this condition than white people?
In this country, there's a large number that have it, but it actually has nothing to do with race, color, or creed. If you go around the equator, there's water. Where you have water, you have mosquitoes. Where you have mosquitoes, you carry malaria. So any of those areas where you have malaria is where sickle cell is found. So now we're talking about places like Italy, Sicily, Greece, South America, Central America, Africa. Guess what? Guess what? A lot of people in Africa have sickle cell disease. In this country, say for example, sickle cell, there's about 1 out of 400 African Americans that may have sickle cell disease. But if we go back to Africa where the disease is actually found, it's probably more like 1 out of 25.
Wow.
So it's high
and
numbers.
Since it's genetic, and as our melting pot continues to melt, who knows what population groups are going to be affected by this?
Absolutely. We were here in Colorado, one of the first states that did screening, and so we screened everybody. And when they first started, it was really kind of cute because they wanted to just screen only Africans. Well, we found a lot of people who thought they weren't Africans, and when they came up positive on the screen, they accused their families of all kinds of things. So we had to stop that one.
So if someone is born, you're born with this condition, you know it pretty fast.
You know it pretty fast.
Okay. You're telling me that the amount of hemoglobin in a blood cell normally is a count of what, 14? 14 per whatever.
Right.
All right. But with sickle cell, it's half that.
It's about half that. It's about 7. And so obviously, you know what, if your blood count is low and you don't have enough oxygen, you're tired. You're not your body is not growing like it's supposed to. All of the things that oxygen does, it does everything in our body. So
basically, you're suffocating in a way, and that
pretty much.
You're not getting the oxygen you need. All right, this you told me beforehand. How long does it take an average person to rebuild his blood supply?
Our body remakes red blood cells every 120 days. With sickle cell anemia, they redo their blood cells every 21 days. So
every 21 days?
Every 21 days.
So if you have sickle cell, your body is constantly trying to create new blood so that you can get oxygen.
Absolutely.
That's tiring.
That is tiring.
So how does this manifest? When someone has it, what is it they feel? What does it mean?
Well, if you're releasing the oxygen, trying to do what your body needs to do, that's everything. These red blood cells, they should be round and flexible and actually releasing oxygen. They're hard, they're stiff. They'll get plugged up in the blood vessels.
If you have sickle cell.
Oh, yes. And so one of the biggest things you'll hear people talk about with sickle cell is the pain. The pain is really bad. You know, we talk about
pain where?
Any place that these cells will plug up in the body. So they could plug up in the brain and the people could actually have strokes. They could plug up in the hands, the feet, they just swell up, they hurt.
Any place where your veins, arteries shrink down in order to get them through, it doesn't move. Wow.
Absolutely.
All right. How long do people with sickle cell, go back a few years, when you started this, how long did people live who had this condition?
I actually started taking care of sickle cell patients around 1980, and at that time most of our patients start passing away around age 20.
Wow.
And now we have better treatment, we have better management, we even have somewhat of a cure for sickle cell. So now we have patients that have lived, and our oldest patient here in Colorado was in her 80s before she passed away.
That's incredible. All right, you said something that caught me. You said the word cure.
I did.
Did I hear the word cure?
I did.
How do you cure a genetic condition?
Well, basically there are some of our patients that can be cured if we can find someone else in their family that has the same genetics but don't have sickle cell disease. And that's one of the things that we do very early with our patients is we test them. We call it a phenotype. In other words, we know what their genes look like. And so that's what one of the cures has been. But obviously that is not a cure for everybody because we're not going to always find matches. And there are some cool things that have happened with sickle cells, particularly here in Colorado. In Colorado, we started doing what they call a stem cell transplant. You've heard people talk about those recently. And essentially, in about 1994 is when our bone marrow transplant team at Children's Hospital started doing, started looking into doing them, and it was late 90s when we did our first one. In Colorado, we have had 20 that have had stem cell transplants that no longer have sickle cell disease
and
because
actually
of
have
it.
Cured the genetics of sickle cell.
Disease.
That's incredible.
Correctly.
Tell me about someone you call an ambassador who's one of these folks.
Well, right now, just this few months ago, actually around May, we had a 17-year-old here in Colorado.
What's her name?
Her name is Tiana. She's our ambassador for the years, and she's so excited because now she gets to tell everybody she doesn't have sickle cell anymore.
That's
Praise God.
That's just got to be an amazing thing. All right, we don't have much time, so tell me how do people get involved with what you're doing? I know you've got an event coming up and people should know about it.
Well, actually, our organization is a community-based organization, so we're pretty much responsible, and our mission is to make sure that we're helping the patients themselves and their families to cope with sickle cell disease. And that may be helping them with medications, it may be helping them with food, it may be helping us set up like blood drives.
And if they need that help, where do they go?
They actually, Colorado Sickle Cell Association.org.
The website that just rolls off your tongue, Colorado Sickle Cell Association.org. Donna, thank you so much. I learned a ton. Thank you. Check out the Independence Institute at thinkfreedom.org, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.